sliding miter saw. So miter means to cut, and sliding means that way, and compound is this way. So it does all three. So it's a really high-end, very nice piece of equipment. And the second most dangerous piece of equipment in the shop. So very, very powerful, and will cut your hand off in a heartbeat. I cut my thumb off. I didn't cut my thumb. I cut my thumb off a decade or two ago, and it doesn't work properly, and I'd do anything for that not to happen to you folks. No one ever trained me how to use it properly, so I want you folks to learn that. So I might be talking about close detail, so you might want to come in and it's a little noisy. This space, just like the throat plate of the table saw, is yellow. That's because that's the danger zone. You can see these two marks here, and inside it says no hands. That's because your hands shouldn't be in there. Law says, and the general rule of thumb, is this piece that I'm touching here looks like a banjo. It's called the banjo. So your hands should never be on touching the banjo. You never, if something's happening where your hands are inside the banjo, stop and ask for help, and we'll redirect you and find a better way. But basically, the saw is rotating this way. So when I plunge my saw into something, it's cutting down and back, down and back. So I have my banjo, or my table, and my fence. So when my blade is cutting something, it's pushing down and back. So my tabletop, my banjo, and my fence are preventing it from flying away. Does that make sense? So when I have my wood, whenever I'm cutting, 100% of the time, a lot like having zero gap on the fence on the table saw, I want zero gap on my table and zero gap on my fence. When there's a gap on my fence, the blade is the same power engine as the table saw, and it grabs it and smashes it. Alex, the biggest, strongest guy in class, went to the hospital this year because he had the board like that, and as soon as the wood plunged into it, it completely flattens like a cartoon his finger. There's a guy coming through the door right now. You got one more to go?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So I've never met a person yet that's strong enough to fight against this or the table saw. Case in point, Alex, you're not strong enough to do it your way, so you have to do it the right way. Always tight to the table, always tight to the fence. If you're there, you're 90% of the way safe. Now all you have to do is keep your hands out of the banjo. So if my hands are any closer to the blade than right here, there's a problem I have to recalibrate. Most of the time, I'm right-handed, but I'll pretend like I'm left for the camera. My hand's outside of the banjo, I'm tight to the table, I'm tight to the fence, I can just plunge in and that's no problem. That's totally legit, safe, legal, and I'll cut my board just how I want it. If it's a little finicky piece, and I'm wanting to cut this in half, I have no choice but to put my hand inside the banjo because there's not enough room out here to keep it flat, tight, and safe. So I'm going to clamp it. This unit comes with its own clamp, which is right here. There's two holes, one on that side, one on this side. It goes into the hole, swings around, and then you can tighten the thumb screw down and it holds it totally by itself. Then you can completely let go. You're not in harm's way at all on the plunge. So I can cut from the left or the right, and I can use the locking mechanism to do that. I also have hundreds of clamps in the shop, and totally dependent on the size and shape of the wood, I can clamp the wood to this face. I can clamp the wood to this face. I can clamp the wood to both faces, whatever I need to do. But if I'm inside that banjo, I've got a problem. So it's all about clamping and keeping your hands safe. Is that good? Everybody okay with that? Okay, right now is a perfect time to do it. When I have the teeth going, they all cut through the wood like butter. But I have to wait for that blade to get up to speed. Just at the very, very last fraction of a second was it up to speed. You heard it go, right? As soon as it's the highest pitch, it's up to speed. If I engage those teeth into the wood before it's up to speed, it doesn't have enough cutting power and it's going to try and shred the wood and cause a major accident. That's when the board starts to kick back and splinters go in your face and all that sort of stuff. So fully up to speed. When I cut this, do you mind going on that side?
Yeah, sure.
I'm cupping my right hand. So when I cut this, I'll give myself a pencil mark. So I want to cut this board right in half, right on that pencil mark. So my blade thickness is called the kerf. So the 1/8 inch thick blade is going to turn 1/8 inch of that wood into sawdust. I need to know that. So if you want to cut your board for your bench at 67 3/8 of an inch long, so you measure 67 3/8, I want to cut on the far side of that mark. Because if I cut on this side, I'm going to cut it to 68 1/4 because I erased 1/8 of an inch off. Does that make sense? So you're going to want to know exactly where you want that blade to lie, knowing that it's going to waste some of that wood. So I'm going to measure exactly where it is. I'm going to bring my safety guard up, and when you look down, you'll see that just this side of the tooth is interfacing with that pencil mark, which is perfect, as opposed to that. I'm cutting it too short. I'm cutting it perfect. You all see that? You understand the theory behind that? Okay, so now what I have is my precise cut mark. My teeth are lined up precisely where I want. I'm clamped tight to the fence, tight to the banjo, and my hand's out of harm's way. Everybody see how I've done all that? Now what I'm going to do is bring the blade back up. So see, I made my mark. I'm right on my pencil line. I'm happy. Now I'm going to bring my saw blade all the way back up, and then I'm going to get it up to speed. I'm going to plunge it into the cut all the way through, and then bring it back up, let the blade die, and then I'm done. So I'll show you that whole sequence. So I'm good on my pencil mark, bring it back up, bring the blade up to speed. One cut. And now I'm dead down inside the banjo, and now that it's stopped, I can let it back up. Okay, if I bring it back up as it's uncut, all those teeth are exposed and in danger, and my board's coming up and there's a pinching error. So once it's plunged in, I'll fully plunge it, let go of the trigger, and let it die inside there, then I can release it. Okay, everybody good with that? So I'll get you all to cut this in half, and then we'll do a mitre cut. Just don't cut yet.